Hello and welcome to the 120 something dev update with us today. And it's been a while for the whole dev update. I apologize for that. But with us today, we have a special guest, Marc the Shark.
Hey, how's it going, QX?
How you doing, Marc the Shark?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Nice, relaxing Sunday.
Very nice.
Yourself?
I'm doing well. And just so people are wondering, Marc the Shark comes to us live from satellite. His internet connection is literally going up to space, back down, low Earth orbit, and this is what we're seeing. I'm super impressed by how reliable it's not an ad for Starlink, but I mean it's pretty impressive. I grew up on
Yeah, it's solid.
I started what's it called? Moved to like a rural area in my in my 20s, and back then they barely had 3G and I barely had a signal, so it was not usable. So I went from dial-up. I used dial-up for a while, for about a year, and then used that thing called HughesNet, which was it was a nightmare. So those satellites, unlike Starlink, which are lower orbit, those guys are, I think it was a 35,000 miles trip up and down. They're geosynchronous, so they're geostationary, so they literally just they're locked like a tidal lock almost, and they just go with the rotation. It was awful. They would oversell their nodes and go from there. It's just so it's really nice to see something that like this is delivering as it's promised mostly.
Yeah, it's come a long way, and it's actually a lot cheaper than I got mine like last year, and they're pretty good. Not an ad or sponsor or anything, right? But
I mean, you mine on the damn thing, right? You're mining.
Yeah. Mine on it. I've heard like people have gotten hail damage and they sent out like a new one. We got a power outage and they sent us a new one for free. So pretty good.
They melt the snow that comes on it, right?
Yeah. Has a setting for that and stuff. It's pretty neat. Technology's come a long way with that respect, and it's like invaluable too because we both work from home, my wife and I. And so the internet speed is just like far more capacity compared to everything out here because we're sort of in the rural Colorado. So you got to have the speed for both of us.
Speaking of things that deliver on their promises and our amazing technology, why don't we talk about Ergo?
Yeah, absolutely.
So something cool that happened this week. Well, it happened a while ago, but something that was in a lot of talk this week in chats, a lot of confusion. I saw something really funny online. I'll see if I can find it while we're talking here. But with storage rent, we started kind of diving into storage rent, making it more public, talking about it in chats, and getting people interested. But I think storage rent is one of the coolest things about it, and it's Ergo, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ability to kind of just like pull in the tokens that are, dust, collecting dust, unlike Bitcoin. And it's interesting to kind of, I suppose, have that foresight from a protocol.
It is. I mean, I guess you think about it when you're in as deep as Alex is, those kind of things probably just made sense at that point, right? It's like, shit, you're losing Bitcoin forever, gone forever till the heat death of the universe, and and you're building a chain. You're like, how can we reclaim those? But yeah, so for those of you that don't, I mean, this is a dev update. I'm sure everybody knows, but there are people not developers that watch the dev update. So storage rent on Ergo, people are really confused sometimes outside of Ergo about the trustlessness of it and the changeability of it. So I believe to change any sort of those big settings of it, I've seen on Twitter people say, oh, the devs can steal all your funds if they want to through storage rent. And I dig. They don't say why. And I dig and dig and dig. And they say the storage rent mechanism. And I'm like, how? And they're like, they can just take it. I was like, oh, okay. So, but it's a 90% super consensus for any of those kind of protocol level changes. And I think it results in a hard fork, of course, for that. So, I mean, that'd be yeah. I mean, that'd be a hell of a thing for miners to vote against their own interests to do,
Right.
So that kind of thing's silly. But there was a funny post. I think we talked about the storage rent on the Ergo AMA on the 12th, and somebody posted under, I think I'm here. Let me see. Yeah, people. Some guy commented on it and said, "Careful, bro. If you hold Ergo for too long, they'll charge your rent." So it's
Right.
like, that kind of thing. I commented on it. I said, "Hey, this reminds me of the historical depictions of people laughing at others when they stated that the Earth wasn't flat." I said, and I put in quotes. I said, we have a mechanism to ensure a stable and fixed supply while keeping the ledger and dust under control. How dare you think that far ahead?
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I see these people like freak about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, people. But yeah, what's that, Mark?
Right. So yeah, what does it got to be, like 50 erg, or something, right? For the storage rent, that sounds kind of reasonable. $50 every 4 years, or what is it?
50 or 1,000 erg.
Yeah, 1,000 erg.
Good setup, Mark. It's so on average it's 0.14 ergs per every 4 years, and that's on average. That's depending how much data is stuffed into it. So the more data into the block, essentially, the box, the more you're going to charge. So that could range from less than 0.14, I believe, for minimal, to even more, to point. I've seen 0.9, I think, almost a full freaking erg of collection, if I'm reading it correctly, from our earlier endeavors. But yeah, so an interesting thing too is you'll see the storage rent that's being collected right now is on a lot of, like, you see like 30,000 erg wallet that hasn't been touched, or 70,000 erg wallet that hasn't been touched. So kind of these sitting whales, and it makes me smile knowing that, hey, these guys haven't been using the ecosystem for 4 years, or they have and they've just parked their token. Who knows? It could be either one. But it's nice to see that miners are now being able to recoup some of that burden from storing that state all the time, essentially, and having that bloat in the blockchain. So I thought that was really cool. Really, really cool. I mean, the ability.
So, you're talking about the fees then. So, went all the way up to 0.9. So does that just mean basically there's more boxes within this transaction, I suppose?
No, there's more things in the box. The box holds more data. So let's say you have a ton of erg in the box, and you have a ton of tokens in the box, and that kind of thing. And and that box is up for storage rent. Since there's more data in that box and it's heavier bloat on the chain to store that data, they're going to charge you. It's a multiplier, essentially, the way it's figured out. It's going to be charged more rent.
Okay, interesting. I mean, yeah, and 0.9 erg or whatever, that's pretty reasonable, depending on, like, what that data sort of size
holding 90-some thousand erg, and you have a bunch of tokens in there too, kind of thing.
Right, exactly. Where your bank accounts, charge you $25 a year or something like that just to use your own money, your own bank. So this is, like, obviously far less from, like, in terms of, like, a banking kind of comparison, right?
And even further less, right? Because all you have to do is just send the stuff to yourself to pay a transaction fee, and you're done. So so it's like a freebie kind of thing. It's like, hey, don't forget to I don't know, clean behind the stove every 4 years, kind of thing, so you don't get mice. It's super easy to bypass and go around, but of course the genius in that is, by doing that, you're spending money on a transaction fee. So either way, you're paying the miners for use of the network, which is the original intent, which is a great kind of function of that.
Right. It's like almost the network is designed and incentivized to be used,
Yeah, who'd have thunk, right?
Exactly.
So I can understand people come from other ecosystems, like what's it called? Like Ethereum, saying, oh, they can take stuff out of my wallet without asking, that kind of thing. But assumptions are there when you start. It's a known thing. It's how it functions, and there's a reason for how it functions. And it is a hell of a lot better of a reason than some people I see that get scammed in Ethereum, where you do a transaction and 30 hops later, that guy takes your entire wallet out, and you didn't even,
oh geez,
kind of thing, with those where you give, what is it? You give smart contracts like unfettered access to make that transaction, kind of thing. You get boned if you don't know what you're doing sometimes.
Right.
So yeah. So
yeah, I mean, in that respect too, there could be some hesitation from I suppose, wallet optimization, you know, maybe I don't want to optimize my wallet. I'll just create a new wallet sort of thing. And then, but there's still going to be some level of dust because I know within the wallet, and obviously I've used it before and it's safe to use, but I wonder if other people would create sort of reduce your boxes and then there'll be like someone scammy is doing it. You know what I mean?
I wonder. Yeah. I would not be surprised, Mark, if you start, with the popularity of Ergo going up, if you see like,
right.
oh, here's a utility to keep your wallet clean, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
that'd be some pretty low hanging fruit, some pretty basic users falling for it. But of course, it's gonna happen.
Right.
Yeah. To be honest, I did not. It took a while for me to trust that Optimize in Nautilus and the consolidated boxes
right.
in Terminus. I was like,
Seriously.
okay, am I sure this, let's try it, let's try it on a small wallet. I just would take the time and send everything back to myself again, which is the same thing.
Totally. And then that's like something that I think from a development perspective, all the fleet does. So I think the only way that wouldn't work, and it's like somebody scams you, is somebody like, I guess, forked fleet, right? And then change the UI to do that. So that would be like the only way somebody could actually like.
Oh, within the wallet? Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody,
yeah. Or
somebody.
that would have to be in the wallet, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they wouldn't get it out of what's it called? They wouldn't get it on the Chrome store. That's the advantage of having Nautilus official on the Chrome store. So they'd have to fork it, rebrand it them like dog with bat wallet for Ergo kind of thing, and then get people to use it and do it. But I guarantee one of those kind of things pops up, people in Ergo at least are going to be looking at it, looking at the code, immediately say, we can't see this code, guys. It looks like a Nautilus fork, but there's nothing on GitHub about it, kind of thing. So at that point, and the same thing happened with like we don't know who did ergdex.com, right? So if everybody knows that Spectrum rolled back down to ergodex.io, I believe it is. Let me see to make sure before I quote this. Ergodex swap, yeah, it's app.ergodex.io. So they went back to that. They split up. There's not split. They split their brand. Spectrum's still kind of that backend network that they're going to foster, and Splash is a Cardano side, Ergodex is the Ergo side, and so they're no longer bound together, which I think is flipping fantastic. There's nothing.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to trade on Ergo, and I didn't need to see a pull down up there or accidentally switch to that when I did it in my menu bar if I've ever used the Cardano side. So it's good. I'm sure Cardano peeps felt the same. So I think it's great to have two separate brands there, which is great. But anyway, back to the original topic. There's ergdex.com, which is a clone fork of Spectrum interface. And I think it's the .com. Is it Ergodex or Ergdex?
I think it's Ergdex.
It's Ergdex, and it's a fork before it's not a fork of Ergodex. It's a fork of Spectrum Dex. So you still have the Ergo, Cardano approved up top. And I don't know who runs it. Maybe it was figured out in dev chat, but I asked in dev chat and people said, we don't know who runs it. So even though it's zero fees, there's no fucking way I'm connecting myself to that. Goddamn.
Right.
Until somebody comes up that's known in the ecosystem at least and says, hey guys, I'm running this. That kind of thing. I'll do it. But until then, yeah, it's
they're a bit like icebergs in the sense, you can see the little bit above the water, but like what's underneath that I'm like kind of concerned about. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I mean, a smart dev might come up and say, "Oh, look, we can see the connector; it looks fine. You can see the UI being hosted here.
Totally,
that's fine." But yeah,
caution for sure, especially with
for those kind of things. Yeah, but that being said, everybody, please have a goddamn trading wallet and not hook up your whole bag to the damn anything. Please, please make yourself a damn trading wallet.
For sure.
Nothing like hooking thousands of ergs to something that's fishy that you don't know about. Right. It's your main bag, and then could be gone.
Small amounts, things like that. I saw a video where it's like a point of view. You bought like 10,000 Bitcoin back in the day, and then it's like now, and he goes to like essentially create a Bitcoin wallet, do all this stuff. He copies and pastes except the last character, and then he's just like, "Oh no, dude!"
He's already done non-refundable vacation, $60,000.
Yeah, exactly. Most expensive vacation. Yeah, exactly. It's like, dude. So yeah, don't be that guy.
Oh, do be small careful, amounts guys. First. Small amounts, exactly.
Try again.
I don't even trust like ADA handles. People are, to send stuff to ADA handles. I mean, bless that service, but goddamn, if I'd rather just put the damn address and read it through if it's any sort of serious value there. I get what it is.
Totally,
I know how those, those handles work, but whew.
It's like recreating like systems that we already have today that, again, they're just like somewhat decentralized, but still ran by people. And again, yeah, could be good people, but still could be corruptible at some point. Maybe it's better just to handle it on chain,
Yeah. I mean, even in cases, I'm sure they have what's it called? I'm sure they built in some sort of redundancy. The transaction fails if it can't find the the relay there. But yeah. I guess I'm just really conservative about that kind of stuff. Maybe too conservative.
Just spin off a new series for dev updates, and it's like the dark files or something. We talk about like the nastiness of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be
kind of interesting.
Oh, we can do that here. That's fine. No problem. It's always something to talk about. That's for sure. Let's see. What else? Let's talk about all right, so storage rent. Hopefully everybody has a good idea on storage rent. Just again, the basic idea is that we have a fixed supply of ergs, and that never goes away to infinity, essentially, right? I mean, granted, it may take tens of thousands of years to claim large amounts of ergo out of the blockchain from storage rent, but it's possible. So in that kind of sense, it's always the same supply. You do not have lost coins, essentially, in that manner. So super cool concept. Again, takes a super majority, super consensus, 90% or more in a fork to do any of those kind of serious changes. So again, miners aren't going to be voting against the interest. So anybody not an Ergo listening to this and confused about storage rent, come into chat and chat about it. It's one of the favorite things in Ergo. And if you have any serious questions about it, talk to Louis. Louis Libre in main chat. He is happy to fill you in on all the great benefits of Demirage. So very cool.
Heck yeah. And isn't the Ergo like coined name for it like Demirage, right? That's like they're one and the same.
Storage rent? Yeah. Well, I mean, Demirage, right, came from the term back in the day with ships having to pay for just sitting in harbor, I think it was, or something like that, or sitting at the docks,
interesting.
or offloading or that kind of thing. So that was kind of repurposed. Either Lewis, I think Lewis started talking about it a lot, and then I think Kushti came in and said something like, "Yeah, back in 2019, though we did have the word floating around a little bit," kind of thing. So it's funny how things come back full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep. What else? Dev update. We don't have a couple people didn't do dev updates this week that I'd like to just mention because he caused a stink in one of the chats. I'm just kidding. He didn't cause a stink. Mufi. He calls it Mufi. I call it Mufi. He calls it Mufi. Mufi. So that's HQ and I believe ACO as well, doing those kind of things. I think Kushti looked at an earlier smart contract for like the escrow kind of services and pinged again to look at the new smart contracts that they were using. But it's pretty damn neat. It's like an enhanced, it's like kind of like a more nimble auction house as far as that goes. So you can I can take 10 different tokens and some ergs and some NFTs and put them into a bundle and sell the whole bundle. Boom. They are going to the contract. Somebody can buy the whole thing. It's done. I can also use it as escrow too. So I can put in a bunch of tokens, some ergs, and then I can say only Marc's address can buy it for this much. And then Marc pops in and he sees it there, and he's the only one that sees it there, and he can buy it right there. So it's a nice little peer-to-peer kind of transfer there.
That's pretty slick. I like the escrow feature a lot. I could see a lot of like applicability, maybe even like with mining. Like you could say, hey, I want to rent my hash rate or something, and this could be a cool platform where we can like offer the hash rate, and then in the back end we'll have to figure that out. But it's exciting. I'm excited for it.
Super cool. And he's helping us out. Anon Real's busy with Glue on Gold, I believe, that got funded. So We were going to work with Anon to integrate the Sig swag into those NFT sales there. Essentially, you buy an NFT and it correlates to an actual physical item, and then we ship you the item, essentially. But MuFi jumped on board and said we could get you fired up and started. The idea in the end is to do both, of course, but we're going to develop a little API. So essentially, the pathway will be we put the tokens on MuFi. And you buy it. It takes you to a little form. You fill in the shipping information. That never stays in MuFi. That goes right to an API that I'm going to build in our Sigmanauts database, and then we ship it out. After a few days of shipping confirmation that it's been delivered, that gets nuked from our database from there. So we'll make sure to prune as much as we can with still holding on it to at least the idea that it arrived on time. We don't want to nuke all those details before it arrived, but we certainly can probably prune some things even before it arrives. So we're going to be as conscious as we can to do that, to keep anonymity, and also remind you guys that there are relay services that are available in the USA and probably other countries as well, where you can send it to an address. That address knows that you're linked to the address that comes in, and then they just relay it to you. So it takes a couple days. So don't forget those exist as well. Okay. If you're worried about giving up your private information.
What's the cost look like for that? Is that like an added cost, maybe like a few extra bucks, or what's that kind of?
I'm not sure of the pricing. I don't know if they do it per, like you have to rent it per month. I know my brother did something not for these purposes, but he was in Denmark and they ordered a lot of stuff in the US because he's a US citizen. So it would go to some place in DC, a PO box, and then that would just ship internationally to Denmark from there for those things. I don't think it was too bad because he had it forever. So yeah, so those exist for people who are concerned about privacy there. But we're looking forward to that, and that's MuFi, guys. So if you haven't used MuFi and you want to, just as I said when Auction House or Trade House launched. An auction house launched the sell any token kind of thing. These are ways around liquidity issues. So if you have a token that you want to offload or sell or take profits on, but you go to the DEX, you go to Crooksfire, you go to soon MuFi DEX, or you go to Ergo DEX, and you notice that you're gonna shift the entire price 10% because you have a bunch of tokens. But you still want to give that opportunity. You got to remember that the buyer on the other side still feels that way. When they go to buy it, they're going to shift the price 10% in the other direction, essentially. So it's not a great agreement there. Where you could go to MuFi or Auction House, and you can list a bundle of tokens and for a price, and then they can buy it for that price. So it's really a good bet for both the seller and the buyer because you're totally circumventing any slippage on both ends. So super cool.
Yeah. So what are the fees looking like? I think, right, there's free fees for.
Is it still free fees right now until like the 2026 or something, isn't it?
I think so.
Let's see. I gotta get my other browser up, Mark. Here we go. Switch to tab and home. He doesn't have the banner up for fee list. Do you see it? Is it popping up?
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Yeah, so I think check out the Twitter. There's reduced fees there or no fees for a while. And on top of that, another one that didn't announce in dev update this week, and I don't blame him. I haven't been doing dev update videos, so they may have lost the thing. Is Cyberverse, of course, always plugging away, always building. They did a car mint, which was awesome. I hopped over to ADA and I had some ADA sitting, Cardano, I had some ADA sitting in my wallet, and I immediately put it all together and connected my wallet to Cyberverse from Cardano and minted 2 cars because I had about 80 ADA kicking around, or 160 ADA, because it was like 75 on Mount. But it's super cool. Like all of them, like all of the Cyberverse Gen 3 minting. It's a really cool animation that they do, and it's in the game too. So you log into the game, you go to the mint, and you mint a car, and you get lucky. Hopefully, it gets addicting though. It's it's like opening up individual Matchbox cars when you were a kid. It's the same kind of nostalgia. All right, Mark. I think we covered a bunch of stuff. What about we jump to the developer chat?
Cool. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Why don't you take Chris 45 first?
Okay, sweet. So help translate WP Bober token, as well as Grizzly with hat, so the gift token, and then help maintenance, Ergo space, Wiki, Bahasa, Indonesia.
So this is a guy you guys see in chats that that does all those translations. He'll come in, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he'll come in, I think, right before the East Coast bedtime, that kind of late, because he's just waking up, and he'll post all his things. Kushti will usually tip him love or comment or that kind of thing. But doing a lot of translations for all these guys. He's also the guy that does what's it called? He'll submit tokens like Greasy Sex and those kind of things to CoinGecko or other sites to just try to help get them listed. So
okay, perfect.
He does a lot of that stuff. Super cool.
You.
All right, we've got QX with my side of the Sigma Nut mining pool. Marc's got his side coming up a little bit down further. Tested surface storage rent, which was written by Cheese. It's now running on mainnet with about 30 gigahash on it. Found 3 blocks in 24 hours and automatically collected almost 30 freaking ergs. These were the ones Marc was talking about where collecting from big boxes and it was like 0.789 for some of them. And rent cleaning up from block around 287,000. Installing storage rent onto Marc the Shark's new cheaper server today, and we'll point all sig mining hash to it. Let's go. Fantastic. Yeah. And I'm going to stop there, Marc, because you got better news down below. So we'll
perfect.
We'll go for it. Take Kushti, sir.
Okay, sweet. Ergo protocol and reference client research and development. So rework thread pools into 5.0.23 client. Now there is only one non-default pool for critical threads, block processing, and mining related. The candidate is good for days on 213 server. Would be good if Raspberry Pi owners can test as well. Good to know. Might check that out. There's pull requests. Let's see. Working on some new tests, or rather tests for new numeric methods in Sigma 6.0. The PR is merged into unsigned big int pull request, and with the unsigned pull requests more or less done, new devnet will be released. Nice. Done basic peer-to-peer message for subblocks, announce subblocks, requested transactions, and send transactions. Nice. Now looking into candidate generation, internal miner modifications to start initial devnet with subblocks. That'll be really neat. Cool. Keep it coming. So Cash App added API methods to do a description to README. Looks like we have a note, also indexing all the notes and getting notes by holder pub key implemented, reviewed and approved both pull requests. And then Dexy with all the tokens issued. Code for USS is finishing PR for ErgoDex and reviewing payout action to deploy it after. So it's gonna working hard for the money.
Yeah, that's gonna be nice getting Dexy up there. That's gonna be good. All right, we've got. Oh, this was fun this week. Cornell AAP DAO. So I created some tokens and set up DAO for Cornell AAP students. There's a Paideia DAO right there. Created video tutorials for students on how to create a wallet and stake token on the DAO. Next up, meet with student body next Thursday. That'll be this Thursday, so in four days. At 4:30 to explain how this DAO will function, its purpose, and why the hell on a blockchain. Remember, these are kids. These are not blockchain kids. These are just city and regional planning kids specifically at this point, and then we'll branch out to the bigger body. Create a token of value as well for our college that will help in creating a digital economy where students can pay for printing, plotting, trade and swap tools between themselves, pay fines, and other peer-to-peer transactions. So you got to imagine if, what's it called? If you're leaving the country at the end of the year and you don't want to deal with U.S. currency or something like that, it'll be nice to have a kind of central currency that will still hold value for you when you come back, perhaps. So if you have tools that you're selling, like cutting tools, drawing tools, those kind of things, you potentially could sell with these tokens that still have a value when you come back on campus. as well as use it to pay for other services that we have. So excited about that. See how that'll work. We'll see. Notes: DAO will reset each year as the top class graduates. And the first version of DAO will hold Cornell USD token, which is just a placeholder representation, non-value, and about 50 grand for the students to decide on how to spend those funds to augment and update the main computer teaching lab. As that proves successful, more funds will be integrated into the DAO, and more things will be also be able to be influenced by the students. That's, I mean, the issue, the issues everybody has in these kind of things is apathy, right? We have apathy issues in the Sigmanauts group as well. I'm sure the EF has apathy issues too with voting and participation, and you only hear about stuff when it's bad or they don't agree with it. So it's so unproductive to put your blood, sweat, and tears into something and then only hear feedback about it being bad. It really wears you down after year after year. So the hope with these kind of things is creating a DAO, getting the students involved in the DAO, putting actual one-to-one representation of $50,000 in there to say, hey, here's $50,000. There's going to be what is it, 15 how much, 10,000 times, you need an extra 10, so there's going to be about $13,000 added each year after this 50,000 forever, essentially. And your student's job is to figure out how best to utilize a space, and we'll hand out tokens as well to faculty as well who teach in the lab, so they can have input in there going from there, as well as the staff, of course, that support it. So it'll be cool. Really interesting. It's yeah,
the ecosystem of a college is like perfect for blockchain, just with all the different sort of bartering mechanisms you could do. Like imagine like you could make a token for your books and then they're equally distributed. I think with like chain cash could be applicable here, and then people who own the
chain cash would be awesome in these environments,
right? Yeah,
some sort of let's bartering systems, those kind of things. It's ripe for that kind of stuff. It'd be perfect. Give the power back to ownership and actual rights ownership, so those kind of things. So yeah, totally. super neat. I think cool. about chain cash that's backed by our group that's setting up this stuff too, so students know that if they have a note that's backed by stuff that we're doing, it's gonna be actually legit and those kind of. So totally. Yeah, super neat. Oh, look at this. We've got Neural Yogi, also known as Marc the Shark. What you got here, sir?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you can see the image. Most likely, I guess, the UI image or not.
Yeah, it's there. Yep, they can see it.
Okay, yep. Cool. So yeah, this is a temporary dashboard I was creating because let's see, when we're sort of testing things, we just break the APIs, I guess, have to remake them. So this was just something quick and dirty. So we'll be updating the API, but this is something maybe down the road project we might switch over. We'll see. But so new servers are up and running with mining core. I personally mined, I guess solo mined 3 blocks within a week on 2 gigahash. That was
you hurt us so bad with that good luck that we went a day without block.
I know, right? I felt bad. I saw you message me. I was like, oh no, what's up? And then yeah,
so that stung hard.
Yeah. Oh man. So and then from there, so we're mirroring the database from mining core server, so that allows for some separation because that has all the payments. So just want to keep that separate. Created initial API for mining core, so that's what you see in that dashboard. Again, there's the new minimal dashboard. I'm coining Sigs Mega Core. Having fun with my naming convention. It's a containerized everything for all the pool operations. This eventually, I think, is going to be into some sort of GUI, similar to how I really like the look of the Cardano node, just like aesthetically. So that's kind of what I was going for. But in terms of functionality, we'll see. But the idea is to GUI everything. And then at the time I wrote this, I needed a better understanding of mining core payment tables and the like before integrating the mining swaps. Should be simple and straightforward, but there's of course the unknown. So soon on that. And then I did mess up the NGINX config for ergominers.com. So for some reason that's not showing up. But if you go to Shark,
I gotta look at it. That's right. My bad. Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. I need to look at the.
Yeah, it can be. It can just be something simple, probably, that happens. It's fine. Yeah. We'll look at it. It can be a pain. But yeah, the third one up where you're talking about Sigs Megacore, that's what I was talking about during the AMA this week. About these are a package that Marc's developing that we can go out to Cardano stake pool operators and say, hey guys, you want to get your stake pool members extra ADA essentially, or extra something, so they could essentially go and spin this up, and anybody that's has a video card in their gaming rig or anything. So I think I did the math, Marc. Let's say there's 1,000 people staking at a stake pool on Cardano, right? 100 of those guys are gamers and they have 3070s, 3080s. I think it's like around 10 to 20 gigahash. I think I calculated out that it could be for those kind of even only 100 users. So that's a couple blocks a day, even more, kind of thing. So they could offer their Cardano people Rosen ADA that could then essentially cross chain and come over. Maybe it'd take the Rosen bus when that gets developed, so that there weren't really a lot of fees, and they could just continue to get extra ADA, or they could just collect Rosen ADA on Ergo with another wallet, kind of thing. So that's part of your plan, Marc, for your proposal to the EF, right? Kind of adoption and education through mining, which I think is brilliant because we're fucking proof of work, bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think kind of in your sort of kind of breakdown of stake pool, most of the stake pool or folks that are staking to the pool, right, most likely have some GPUs, and in the same sense, most of the miners are most likely somewhat fluent in some type of language and would probably be interested in some manner to develop things. And so I think from an adoption perspective, we probably should see a lot more apps maybe into the ecosystem that do a bunch of different stuff, maybe made by miners. And so at least that's the hope, right?
Yeah. All right, let's see what else we have here. Oh, you've got some GitHubs of your Megacore and Mining Wave and Miner View right there.
Okay.
Down below there. Thanks. All right, let's see. We've got Ann and BR with Nautilus. Found a lot of roadblocks for a smoother TX history mempool chaining user experience with the current Explorer. Thankfully, PGR456 from Sigma Space IO came to the rescue, and we are finally making progress again. Hang on, let me make sure Sigma, does he talk down here? He doesn't. Oh yes, he does right there. Okay, I don't need to talk about it because he's down there. For those of you that haven't been following, Nautilus is working on a transaction history tab. So if you go to Nautilus and you see those tabs up top, it's like non-NFTs, non-singletons, then NFT singletons, or NFT with artwork essentially. Then there's like the consolidate thing. Well, there's another tab that's coming in there for history. So you can get your history of transactions. That I think, was there going to be an export button, Marc? Did I see there's an export button there? Or
am I pretty sweet. I don't think I
might be over speaking. Yeah, I might be. Yeah. But at least you can see history there. So that's really nice. Fleet SEK, Marc's new favorite tool besides ErgPi. Release version 0.6.4. Blockchain providers retry on server errors. Fixed stream methods return types for blockchain providers. And miscalculation when tokens are present in subtrahend but not in minuend for fixed UTO difference. So nice, Anon. Okay, you got the big boys right here, the heavy hitters, man.
Cool. So Rosen Bridge. So it looks like the Rosen app integrated the primary MetaMask wallet functionality into the Rosen app. RoseNet fixed pub sub issue of increasing message receiving delay. Started working on message retry implementation. Work on fixing stream about abort issues. Then we got watchers. So let's see. Release with some fixes, minor bugs in Rosen integration. So that's a pretty big update, right?
Right. Yeah, watchers are gonna be receiving Rosen, which can be swapped one for Rosen, I believe. So yeah, neat.
Very cool. And then the services release with Rosen support periodic reward collection job and improve health check module experience. Nice.
There was what's it called? I think there was a 30,000 ERG swap over to Cardano the other day. They got stuck.
Nice. Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
think it just went through yesterday or today when it retried again. But the reason it got stuck is, there's a limit to how much, depending on how busy the bridge is expected to be, there's a limit to how much funds are in the hot wallet, right? Because the last thing you want is something cracked and a hot wallet compromised and everything drained. So that's the way those stages, that's another level of multi-levels of Rosen Bridge. It's like a layer cake, for gosh sake, how it protects those things. So what happened is, in order to do that, so we needed to inject Rosen into the Cardano wallet, right? The hot wallet, but there wasn't enough there for 30,000 ergs coming over. There weren't 30,000 Rosen ergs in the Cardano wallet, a multi-sig. So typically we use an app, not an app, but we use a service. Essentially, it's a multi-sig service, very similar to what MGPi made for Ergo Hack, kind of a website where you can see everybody's address that's part of the multi-sig, and you can sign and go from there. So it's outside of a wallet itself. You can use Nami, you can use Eternal, I think, to connect to it and sign right there from a normal wallet. So what happened is the public instance, the public GraphQL instance that we were using went down. That Roundtable uses. And there was a hunt for a day or two to try to find one. Luckily, I'll give a shout out to Panel Stake Pool. Was syncing one as we were looking. He was at 16%, but it wasn't quite up to the point where it recognized Rosen because it was still, early on in creation, essentially. So I think by the next day it had finished, and we were able to do it from there. But it's interesting, some of those. And I said to the Rosen team, I was like, oh, hey, I'll spin up something. I'll spin up a GraphQL instance for Cardano, and the response was overwhelmingly it's extremely complicated, that's why we're not doing it, kind of thing. So I think we take for granted sometimes these things, and I heard Louis say as well that at one point when one of the big like poofs when he went over to Cardano is that he's spoiled from Ergo having an index node built right into the node, and you can make calls right there for extended things, where in Cardano that's not the case. So it's interesting, the things that work well in one ecosystem and you expect them in others and they're not there. But I'm sure Cardano has things as well, the same way back and forth, that you come over to Ergo and you're like, why can't I do this, kind of thing. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other in those cases.
That makes it interesting with the bridge, right? Because with each new connection to the bridge, you got to sort of figure out these sort of little, I guess, pitfalls with respect to each chain, and then kind of, I guess, compensate in that sort of manner. So definitely some great work that they're doing over there.
No, it's a lot of work, that's for sure. All right, we got SigmaSpace.io. PGR456 is in our mining channel. Super swell guy. Finally finished a new blockchain indexer, full index into database in less than 24 hours. Amazing. Added box size to indexing as prerequisite for storage rent dashboard. And he launched storage rent dashboard right here. So you can see it lets you track upcoming storage rent boxes and how much rent is being claimed. Also overview of storage rent in the next 24, 7 days, 30 days. Next up in roadmap is finishing and providing public Explorer API, which is fully compatible, can be dropped in replacement for Ergo platform.org. Holy shit, this is going to be awesome. So I said to Kushti, I think, in the AMA, one of the things or maybe it was in the spaces, I said, one of the things that I'd love to see in Ergo is less dependencies on Explorer, right? Because when shit hits the fan and it gets really busy, the big bottleneck sometimes is people checking or sending transactions to the Explorer UI, essentially, or the Explorer URL. So
just like refreshing if it confirmed or not.
Not that just that, but the GraphQL. I think Nautilus uses GraphQL to send transactions through there. I think central exchanges probably have their own instance of Explorer that they do that through, but it can get bogged down, right? Unless they're using. I have ergo.aap.cornell.edu Explorer as well, that's out there that people use, but I set it up maybe a year ago, and it was a bitch to set up. So anything that can give an alternative explorer that can be used with GraphQL if he's gonna be able to do that. I don't think he's talking about GraphQL here though at all, but maybe he is. But at least API calls so that any apps that are relying on Explorer API calls, which are different than Node API calls, just for people to know that don't know that. So there's some things you need out of Explorer APIs that you can't get out of Node API. So that'll be great. Hopefully that'll allow more people to do those things, and easier installs, easier to spin up, and take that bottleneck away.
Okay, so it's more of like a compute issue to where it's like the current Explorer setup. It just, everyone's just pumping stuff to that versus this would just be another
100%. You got it.
Balancing kind of, right?
Yep. Got it. Yep.
Very cool.
Okay, it's all you.
Sweet. Celaut project reputation system for Node is done. Actually working on a payment system, updated Sigma reputation panel with new contract improvements. Okay, cool. So maybe competition for Ergo maybe in terms of reputation, or is this going to be an application different?
No, this is essentially, I believe, if I remember from Ergo Hack 5, I think they jossemii maybe did Ergo Hack 5 or 6, but he's done 2 Ergo hacks. And I think this is legitimately essentially real people reputation, like essentially ways to determine how somebody is in a social gathering or a social environment like Ergo.
Cool.
So it allows those kind of, and I think it's trustless essentially. So you can essentially trust in that way, at least by social and how you're acting on the chain, your reputation there. If I could be completely off, but this was a year or so ago when I was reading the paper on that. But if anybody has any questions about that, please look him up on Ergo Hack for the reputation system. He had a video on one of them as well, and then the submission definitions as well for that. So yeah, check that out. All right, we've got Aberg, Satergo dev. It is so nice to see Aberg here. Submitted a PR to AppKit that removes 2 libraries with vulnerabilities, waiting for it to be merged, and then I plan to make a PR for a small new feature. Oof, I can't wait to see what it is. He may have talked about it already, but I've been lacking in chats the last couple of days, so I'm excited to see what it is. Aberg, whenever Aberg releases something, it's usually for good reason, good function, and it's always welcome. It's not like something that you're like, whatever. It's usually something like, oh, damn, I'm glad he's going to put that in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. You can wrap it up right here with Luivatra.
All right. So Paideia partially fixed emoji DAOs. That's pretty funny. I'm not sure what that's.
So Paul, who made the clown token,
Totally.
was setting up a DAO with the clown token. And Louis was not, whatever code Louis uses, was not prepared to actually have an emoji character as the DAO name. So it broke the DAO for a little bit until he fixed it. But I still think it's partially fixed still. I think Paul was asking, when it was going to be fixed. But Louis said, like, fuck my life. I wake up in the morning and in the terminal, he showed a picture of it if you guys want to go through the chats, but it's like it was giving errors on unknown character or something, and it literally showed the goddamn clown character in the terminal. He's like, God,
that's hilarious.
Damn it.
You gotta prepare for anything, right?
I know, right?
Yeah. That's funny because he asked me to distribute the clown tokens through the mining pool, and so
that's awesome.
So in sort of the command, in a similar sense, I had to come up. I just type in clown, right, instead of like the.
Oh, you can't do it. You can't type in clown. Does that come up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with alien token, right? You can't type in alien. Yeah. You gotta go hunt for it and copy and paste the damn thing.
Exactly. So it's like it's like if you do use the emoji, come up with a name too, so you can in the description, right? So we can just keep that track of that. Because then what happens if
then the wallet has to actually search for the description, I guess, too. But that's possible, right? Yeah.
So then, for Paideia, working on implementing a workaround for context variable serialization issues.
That's good to see Louis working. Fantastic. Those European people when they're like 30, 40, 50-day vacations every year.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Us Americans, we can't
1 or 2
handle that.
weeks, right?
Yeah, right. A couple days and we get calls from our bosses wondering where we are.
Where are you? Yeah, exactly. We needed you. Like,
all right, let's see. Anything else here? I don't think so. Nope. That would be it, Mark.
Cool.
Well, that was a fun chat. I appreciate you coming in after your trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Say thank you to your wife for me for taking you away from the family.
Yeah, we'll do. Absolutely.
Anything to look forward to this week, Mark?
Well, my wife's actual birthday is on Tuesday, so that'll be fun.
Gosh, an Ergo happy birthday. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll let her know. Have her watch this video to the end. Be like, wait, there's something special for the end. No, yeah, just getting hopefully getting some more progress done just on the Sigma mining pool stuff. So
oh, that's exciting. We it's exciting to be in that chat. You know what I mean? I would say any miners watching this, even if you don't want to mine to our pool, the Sigma pool, come in and chat. It's got that old, it's got that old flavor of talking about cards, talking about what we do, and hell, man, even if you just want to point one card to us, like point 200 mega hash or 170 mega hash. It doesn't matter. You'll get a DAO token. You can then vote and steer the pool. You can participate in bonus rewards if you're mining. So even if you just fork off a little bit of hash, you're part of the decision making. So come in and be in control of something, or not control, but be part of the control and direction of something as a group.
Yeah, come hang, give your input. It's cool to see ever since we got the storage rent sort of this last couple of weeks, we had more people kind of chiming in that I haven't seen before in the chats and stuff. So it's really cool to see, especially coming from, January where we were into to now. It's to kind of look back, so to speak, right? It's
right.
Come a long way.
And we had some stumbles and learning processes, but we
100%.
Yeah, I mean it's going well.
Rock and roll.
Maybe I can finally shut down that server that's charging me $130.
Oh my gosh, right? And that's going to be another thing I really want to look at, because like the nodes, right? We were talking about the nodes were kind of just so heavy, because I tried to get a 40 gig server and it wouldn't do it, but I need to maybe do that first. But
we got to prune the indexing though. We got to prune the indexing. Yeah.
So that'll be something we'll have to do for Sigs Mega Core, just kind of do super lightweight, mining core. It'd be really cool. I don't know, I'm dreaming, and I don't know if it's possible, but it'd be cool to do like on a Raspberry Pi or something super small, just like pure maybe mining core, and maybe it's connected to another Pi with some, I don't know, data or something. I don't know.
Well, run the database on one, and the local network run database on one, run the mining interface on the other. That's actually taking connections and those things. So yeah, I wonder if you could split it up on some powerful Raspberry Pis. That being said, stupid me, just doing things without thinking. It took Cheese and I talking to Cheese, and we were working on implementing storage rent into the test server. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta redo this. I was talking about the node, and he's like, why do you have indexing on? I was like, don't you need indexing on for the mining core? And he's like, no. I was like, motherfucker. What a waste of, I guess it wasn't a waste, but yeah, but it is a waste because it's local, right? Nobody else is connecting to my node, so it is essentially true. But yeah,
hey, we got to step through those pitfalls so other people don't.
Right. So just announcement: if you're running mining core, you're mining to it, you do not need an index node for that thing. Oh boy. Oh, one last thing. I bugged Quokka during the meeting today. Sigs meeting today, and asked him how everything is going, the progress. And I think he said smart contracts are 100% done. There's not much left. Backend's almost done. Royalties in our database is the last thing. The front end decentralized website is done too. And let's see. I don't want to read all of this private stuff. Okay, that's enough. But yeah, so they're also releasing the decentralized front end, right? Which is going to be much slower because it's going to be interacting with smart contracts yourself, as opposed to their centralized front end, that's going to have everything cached and it's going to be using cached images and those kind of things. But that's the beauty of Ergo, right? You're going to have the option to go ahead and download it yourself and use it yourself and interact with the smart contracts yourself without you having to use the main Sky Harbor front end, which is awesome. That's the spirit of Ergo, and I'm glad they're building like that.
Yeah, I like the whole on-chain approach. I think it's cool that they're doing that, and and it brings like an interesting use case for like another layer on top to sort of facilitate the faster transition of, I suppose, transactions. So then that it's trusted. Aside, I mean, of course, I'm sure their software is, but just from a second layer blockchain perspective, it would be interesting to be able to because then if you did, you could have like live feeds of data interacting with like the second layer, then it gets settled on Ergo's chain.
For which?
For whatever application you're trying to do, So then I don't know if it makes sense, but something I was thinking about when I saw that that they're doing it all on chain. I was like, that's pretty neat.
Yeah. I always applaud projects that say, hey, here's our thing, but also if you want to, just fire up this Docker and run it yourself on your own computer. That's my kind of jam right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Provide something. Sorry, what's that?
I was just gonna say, and with that, you can do that on our Sigs mining pool with our UIs.
Right. Exactly, guys. Hey, if you're any of the 10 miners, that's actually, let me see how many are still on the old pool, right? Let's make that announcement. So here's the old pool.
Another good use case for your ephemeral messaging idea.
Right. There's 10 miners on our old pool, 7 gigahash. I'm going to shut it down tomorrow, guys. So if you are still on the old Sigs pool, please update to Marc's new address, which is pinned in Telegram.
It's on X. Maybe make an announcement like on the Sigmanauts or something like that.
Oh, that's right. I'll do Twitter and then I'll repost it on the main account. Perfect. Okay, great idea, Marc. All right, Marc. Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming in. Enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
Yeah, thanks, you too.
All right, ciao, everybody.